Welcome to the Mod Lexicon. Draugar Weaponry by Destero. Not a new mod, but definitely an underrated one. Draugar Weaponry adds over 20 new lore-friendly weapons into the game. It also happens to put them into the hands of your friendly neighborhood Draugr. In addition to all the new weapon types, there's also a new Death Knight shield to match the set. While you can find all the new stuff in the crypts and dungeons, you can go to any forge and craft these under the Draugr section. You'll then see just how many variants of the weapons there really are. There's quite a few. If you choose the Replacer version of the mod, it will also replace all the vanilla Ancient Nord weapons, except for the bow. I think Destero did an excellent job making these, and I could easily see any of these new weapons included in Immersive Weapons by Hoth Trooper 44 someday. It's become one of those mods that just doesn't leave my load order now, and I hope you enjoy it too. Wildlings of Skyrim by VenatorZ. Inspired by the Wildlings, or Free Folk from A Song of Fire and Ice series, this mod adds 60 new NPCs across northern Skyrim. Wrapped up in warm skull armor, they've adapted to the frigid temperatures and have set up campfires and tents. They don't trust outsiders and will attack anyone on sight. I really enjoyed how seamlessly they were integrated into the game and how they interact with the creatures around them. Very often I witnessed some epic fights between the wildlings and the travelers, bandits, and the wildlife around them. This made the game feel even more alive than before and was fun to watch. Future plans for the mod includes adding new class types or ranks among the wildlings for a greater challenge. There will also eventually be a full backstory for who the wildlings are and why they are in Skyrim. I really like this mod, especially as a fan of both the books by George R.R. Martin and the HBO adaptation Game of Thrones. Slingshot in Skyrim by M. From wooden to Daedric to even a ghost variant, this mod adds 15 unique slingshots to the game. In order to get them, you'll need to find a new merchant located in Riverwood. He can usually be found chopping wood or around the lumber mill. Once you speak to him, you can then see all the new slingshots and ammunition he sells. There are 13 new types of ammunition, each with its own unique custom quiver, textures, and meshes. The slingshots are treated as arrows, as you can imagine, and increase your archery skill. The animations they use are the default archery animations, and they surprisingly work well without looking too awkward. I have to say, they were a little bit odd to aim and fire at first, but you quickly get the hang of it. They're pretty satisfying to use, especially in close combat. It was a bit hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure the firing rate is a little bit slower than a bow. All in all, it's a really neat addition to Skyrim and could easily make for some new types of playthroughs, challenges, or role-playing. I know that there are some mods out there that allow your children to follow and fight alongside you, so an example would be a slingshot would make a good first ranged weapon for them. Cataract and Leviathan by Billyryo. Two different sword mods by the same author. They're both put into the world of Skyrim for you to seek them out. Your search for Cataract will take you to Pure Water Run, a cave just south of Markarth. By the way, in case you were wondering, a cataract is a fancy term for a waterfall, not to be confused with the eye disease. The more you know, you know? Once in the cave, it shouldn't take you long to spot the new sword resting near a cataract. See what I did there? The mod author chose a very clever location fitting for the sword name, and it's always nice to see this kind of effort. The sword is not craftable, but you can take it to any forge and use it to craft a two-handed version of the sword, and then craft it back to a one-handed version should you choose to do so. The base stats of the sword are on par with ebony, but is slightly faster. It's shiny, comes with its own unique sheath, and has many little details despite being a fairly minimal blade. This is a quality sword that doesn't try too hard, and I'm glad to add it to my collection. Leviathan. Similar to Cataract, Leviathan is not craftable, but can be found in Lost Knife Hideout. The cave is found northeast of Ivarstead and just east of the base of the Throat of the World. Once you're in the cave, you'll immediately notice this is not going to be as easy as obtaining Cataract. There are a couple different main areas of the cave, but you'll find Leviathan laying on top of a table above where the saber cat cages are. You can take the new sword to the forge and turn it into a one-handed version, or vice versa like Cataract. The stats are similar to a glass greatsword, and I assume a normal glass sword for the one-handed version. Much like with Billro's other fantastic swords, this one has a great simple design and a unique sheath to go along with it. You probably noticed or will notice that I've been showing two of the same swords sheathed on my back. That's to show that if you're a dual sheath redux user, I've made a dual sheath redux patch for both Cataract and Leviathan. You can find a link to the patches in the mod page description. ESO Bosmeri Antlers by Dreldyn. I can't be the only one who was surprised you could add antlers to your bosmer in the Elder Scrolls Online. I had to look it up since I'd never seen it before, but it turns out even in Morrowind there were horned wood elves. The mod author has given the option for the antlers under the Scars section of the race menu. This is nice because you can combine it with different hairstyles, war paint, and more to create a really unique looking character. It's a small but welcome addition to character creation, and I look forward to updates that are planned to give the bosmer a bigger presence in Skyrim. Maybe we'll see more animal-like add-ons for the bosmer, similar to the concept art for Morrowind by Michael Kirkbride. In fact, looking it up even further, before the Green Pact, the bosmer didn't have a single shape or form. They were constantly shape-shifting between animals and basically monsters until the pact with the god Y'ffre was made. It's entirely possible that the bosmer would have animalistic traits or qualities left over from that time period. I think they look great, and sometimes accidentally with the right armor. Foggy, Morthal, and Swamp by MannyGT. Mod author MannyGT really likes fog. Like, a lot. And that's a good thing because I do too. He's made a very simple mod that makes the marshes and Morthal very difficult to navigate, especially if you use mods like Gopher's IHUD to hide your compass. Not only has Manny made one of my favorite areas of Skyrim more interesting, he's made it downright Silent Hill creepy sometimes. I'm okay with this. It's made encounters in the marshes even more exciting and kind of fun to get lost. I will say though, it does seem to look best with vanilla so far, but trying a different preset might help as well. It could also be a slight conflict with NLA's EMB Weather ESP, something that most other EMB presets don't have to worry about anyway. So try this mod out if you like more fog in Skyrim, and be sure to check out Manny's other great fog mods as well. Dragonglass Armory, work in progress. Dragonglass is an original concept design by the mod author for a new set of weapons in Skyrim. Currently, it adds 2 new daggers and a greatsword, but as the title suggests, it's a work in progress and there will be future updates. The weapons can be crafted at the forge under glass and require the dragon smithing perk as well. You're going to need dragon bones and a lot of fire salts, which is what helps give the weapons their unique color. As you can see, they complement the dragonplate armor well, and look as if they were supposed to be in the game all along. Both the greatsword and the daggers come with their own unique sheaths, and I especially like the attention to detail on the greatsword sheath. When you install the mod, you'll have the choice of using 4K, 2K, and even 1K textures if you're looking out to save some VRAM. There's also an optional file to replace the vanilla dagger called the Blade of Sacrifice with one of the daggers. I really like this unique set of weapons and will be tracking for any possible axes, maces, or even armors that the author is apparently sketching up. This is another set of weapons that I really can see in Immersive Weapons by Hoth Trooper 44, and wouldn't be surprised if it's in the pack in the future. The Forgotten Island by Aragorn 58. This is a fairly small quest mod that takes the player to a new world space simply called the Forgotten Island. To begin the quest, all you need to do is walk through the area that intersects the bridge over the White River and the path to Riverwood. Before I could even reach the Whiterun stables, a courier quickly found me and gave me a note. Upon reading the note, you'll discover that a man named Engar needs your help. A band of necromancers have hired bandits to kidnap the small island's inhabitants, and it's up to you to free them and take back the island. After reading the note, a new quest marker will show up in your map and in your journal. It will lead you to the docks near Solitude. While Engar was supposed to be by the boat, in my case he decided to wander off a little bit. Eventually, I found him, and we took the boat to the Forgotten Island. Now I won't spoil what exactly happens on the island, but I will say that it's a fun little series of quests that I found unpredictable at times as well. As I said before, the island is not very big, and I was able to finish this in just under 2 hours. It's important to note that this is not fully voiced yet, but there are plans to add voices in the future. There is unique dialogue though, and it requires subtitles to be turned on in your game options in order to see them. I didn't encounter any bugs while testing the mod, and it has been cleaned with Test 5 Edit. It's fully nav-meshed, so you can bring any of your followers along as well, which you may need if you're lower leveled. I give a lot of credit to the mod author for making this simple yet entertaining mod as well. I found the third quest to be especially clever and fun to do. The only thing I would like to add is that at times the island did feel a little empty, not necessarily in terms of people. That part makes sense. I think it just needs a little more wildlife, flora, or memorable landmarks. Overall, I think it's worth checking out, and show the mod author some love on the Nexus. It's not easy making quest mods by yourself. Millennium EMB by Johnny12343. Millennium EMB is a cinematic and moody preset that adds some great atmosphere to Skyrim. It comes in two different variants, either rustic, as I'll be showcasing, or the Gemini version that has slightly more saturated colors. If you're not sure how to install an EMB, I've made a great installation video on how to install any Skyrim EMB, and you can use Millennium EMB to follow along. Once installed, you'll immediately notice why it's called rustic. There's a lot of warm, orange, reddish hues, and a heavy emphasis on dark shadows. It makes the world feel dark, dirty, grungy, eerie, and even a little dangerous. I personally really like when mod authors spend a lot of time on sunsets, and it shows in Millennium EMB. The nights are pretty dark, but it never felt too dark or unplayable. One of the highlights of this preset though has to be the interiors. Some really nice work there. As for in-game effects and performance, I was able to stay pretty close to 60 FPS most of the time, while occasionally dipping to 50 FPS in exteriors. The main performance hitting effect seemed to be the depth of field, which can be easily toggled off in the EMB GUI or in the EMB series file. Ambient occlusion is off by default, and several other effects are not tweaked to their highest quality, or even turned on, which helps with performance. The preset could use some minor refining, and especially some mist to cover up that ugly Skyrim LOD, but that's just my opinion. While the preset requires climates of Tamriel, it also looks great without it during my testing if you'd rather not use it. Overall, it's a great preset for both gameplay and screen archers as well. Enjoy the showcase, and thanks for watching.